welcome in to Titans Uncovered. I am the legendary ball knower, Chev90, aka your favorite podcaster, aka co-host of the Dynasty Pulse, aka co-host of Two Guys, One Pod, fantasy football podcast, and co-host of Player Profiler News Desk today on Fridays at 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and whatever time zone it is in the Bermuda Triangle. And I'm here with an emergency podcast, State of the State. I'm a little excited. I'm a little keyed up. It's 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. Actually, it's Monday. See, I'm so excited. I don't even know what day it is. Because I looked at the GM, Mr. Mike Borgonzi, new Titans GM, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs, partially responsible for drafting Patrick Mahomes. And if you can draw parallels or if you've paid attention, the Titans need a quarterback. If you've listened to this beautiful podcast ever before in your life, you know that I don't think Will Levis is it. I've been Cam Ward 2025. I've been helping him try to find houses in Brentwood. And when I had my eyes set on, the number 4 or number 5 pick, I was Team Cam Ward 2025. You heard me say it. You'll hear me say it. You're going to keep hearing me say it. And I can't let that go. But now, see, what the Patriots done did is they let the Titans get the number 1 overall pick. It's been a couple weeks since we got to rap with each other, or you got to listen to me rap, life and stuff. But I'm always excited to hop in here and talk a little bit of Titans because it seems like nobody else is. But here, to quote the great philosophizer Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, no one cared who I was until I put on the mask. And so now nobody cared about the Titans until we got the number 1 pick. And now everybody's like, oh, you're going to take Cam Ward. 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 Cam Ward is nice. The problem is Travis Hunter is nicer. And so, I'm left with this thing. I mean, I've watched Travis Hunter quite a bit, going back to his high school days. And I just, I find myself really, really enamored with the fact that my computer's doing something weird. Anyway, I find myself really, really enamored with the fact that he's a unicorn, man. He is an absolute unicorn. I mean, just to give you some specs on Travis Hunter, for those of you who don't follow college football at all, Heisman Trophy winner, was the number 1 recruit in the country coming out of high school, had his choice to go to whatever Power 5 now group or Power 4 school that he wanted to out of high school, chose to go with Coach Prime and Jackson State at the time, and that caused Nick Saban to nearly have a conniption on air. And from that moment forward, Travis Hunter's been one of the most rare talents in all of college football that we have ever seen. Now, we've seen examples of this before in guys like Chris Gamble, former Carolina Panther, Charles Woodson, former Heisman winner. We saw Champ Bailey play a little bit of offense. So we've seen these things before, but we've never seen them to the scale that Travis Hunter has been able to perform this before. I mean, it was a big deal that was being made about it previously. Travis Hunter played 134 snaps against TCU 2 years ago, and he played 98 snaps in the first half. He's playing all offense, all defense, and he still had incredible explosiveness throughout the game. He was making plays at receiver. He was making plays at corner. He made one of the most diabolical picks that I've ever seen. So Travis Hunter is a one-of-a-kind prospect with ball skills. So, again, most of the time you have a DB. Let's use Patrick Surtain, for example. Patrick Surtain is everything you want in a technical corner. He's a prototype corner, one of the most rare talents that you'll ever see. So he's about 6'2", it's about 200 pounds, long, angular, very technical. Travis Hunter isn't near as technical in the film that I've broken down as a corner, but he has what a lot of players. There's two things that he has that a lot of corners don't necessarily have: the rare instinct. So there's guys who can play their assignment. There's guys who can play man. There's guys who are primarily zone corners. Richard Sherman was a guy who was an absolute ball hawk because, not to get too technical, but he watched the quarterback while he was playing a deep third or a quarter zone, and his eyes were always on the quarterback. He knew based on where that quarterback was going to, how he dropped, whether it's a 3-step, 5-step, he knew where he needed to be based on the pattern recognition and all that. So Richard Sherman, Stanford graduate, extremely intuitive when it comes to playing the corner position. Go figure. And that led itself to a Hall of Fame career, more or less. Not more or less. Richard Sherman's going to be a Hall of Famer. Go argue with your dog if you don't like what I have to say about Richard Sherman being a Hall of Famer. With that being said, Travis Hunter is instinctual in that manner. He understands pattern recognition. He understands, and part of that, I believe, is because of his prolific background at receiver. So he understands what the receivers are trying to do to him to get his eyes in the wrong place, to get him out of position, and those things don't faze him because he's doing it all. So not only did he win the Heisman as the best overall player in the country, and people would argue that it's Ashton Jeanty. In any other year, it would be Ashton Jeanty, guys. It would be, but not this time. You understand what I'm saying? Because you have a guy who's the best corner in the country, and one could argue that he is the best receiver in the country. Just to hit you with a few statistical facts about Mr. Hunter. Travis scored 14 touchdowns at receiver this year and had over 1,000 yards receiving. And if you watched him play at all, he was Colorado's best receiver. And they've got two guys right now, yesterday, today, tonight, whenever you're going to see this episode. They had two players who were absolute dogs, and they're cutting up at the Senior Bowl. And LeJontay Wester. Ironically enough, we had a buddy of mine and I, shout out to Dave, had a conversation about Wester and Jimmy Horn and Shepard, I forget his first name, and Shador having these weapons, and just discussing Shador as a prospect. So that brings me to my next point. I mean, Shador Sanders, Cam Ward, quarterbacks, the top two quarterbacks in the class. We know every cycle somebody gets pumped up. Right now, that guy is Jackson Dart. I think as we get into the process a bit more, people are going to – I just finished scouting 6 games of Will Howard. Will Howard's going to move up the process quite a bit. And he sounded out that he was a bus driver operating an F1 car at Ohio State. And then I watched some film of him at Kansas State, and I walked away impressed. I watched his 2023 game where he played Texas. I think he went 26 of 41, 347 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, lost in overtime. And the loss isn't technically on him because he put a seed on a guy about 5 yards out in the end zone, and he dropped it. In the last play, he loses his footing under pressure, throws the ball away. You'll see that sometimes. He doesn't fold under pressure. Graded at Ohio State, he was never under pressure, if we're being totally honest. So it's a tough evaluation because he doesn't fold under pressure. That's not one thing that I can say about him, but he also was able to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me hit my check down consistently. And Ohio State O-line, just a bunch of big, nasty, just groveling, gargoyle type dudes. I mean, a couple of those guys are going to play on Sundays, if not more. And that's an advantage that they have. I mean, it's Ohio State. They're doing it right. And so, like I said, those guys are going to move into this. Jackson Dart and Will Howard are going to move into the discussion of being day 2 picks. If not, Jackson Dart will potentially creeping around 1, depending on how impressive he is this week at the Senior Bowl. Earlier today, the head of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, said that Jackson Dart was one of the most popular players, and his phone received the most pings once it was announced that Jackson Dart was going to attend the Senior Bowl. Obviously, Will Howard's not attending the Senior Bowl because he is going to be – well, he just finished now. He just completed a national championship where he was the most outstanding player, or offensive MVP is what they call it, in the Senior Bowl. Golly, I'm getting mixed up. In the national championship, college football playoff. So Will Howard and a lot of Ohio State players are taking some time off to let their bodies recover instead of going directly into the Senior Bowl. So yeah, that's a little bit of the state of the state. But going back to Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, these guys have had extremely prolific college careers. Shedeur, has been through the battles. He's been through the fire. 4-year starter, holds the record for passing yards in Colorado history against a ranked opponent with 510. And I've completed my scouting of him, and I don't think that it would be advisable to take him with the number 1 pick. Now, the rumor has it that the Titans, the Browns, and the Giants have all told Shedeur Sanders not to practice at the Shrine Bowl. And so he didn't practice today. And Kyle McCord has been lining it up there as well. But that is, these are just musings. These are just rumors. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a highly selected pick. You saw, if you follow college football rumors or anything of the sort, you saw him throwing the ball with Malik Neighbors earlier. I mean, the Giants can get their guy, and that's great. I mean, Dayball needs a competent quarterback to operate the system. He was operating the system around Daniel Jones for the majority of the entirety of his tenure until they said enough this year when they were 2-8 and they didn't want to pay or risk having his injury contract guarantee be fully guaranteed. So they benched him. He asked to be released. They moved on. Whatever. So now they're in the Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes, and it appears that they're leaning towards Shedeur Sanders. Just a couple of quick things. He is extremely tough. I mean, obviously, about the pedigree. He is the son of Dion, Coach Prime. His father was a coach. He was his coach and has coached him at every level. And there was a rumor earlier that the Cowboys would hire Deion Sanders to be their coach and draft Shedeur and then trade Dak Prescott somewhere else. But that was never going to happen because in trading Dak Prescott, they would have to eat a significant cap hit that would put them in a position to where they don't have any financial flexibility, less financial flexibility than they already had. But enough about other teams. How does this pertain to the Titans? The way that it pertains to the Titans is, as I've lamented the praises of one Travis Hunter, I can't get past the fact that I thought this team was a team that was a quarterback away, an offensive, how do I say this? A competent offense away from functional offense away from being competitive. And, we get a couple of, really boneheaded decisions from the memeing Mayo Madman early on. And then, the defense is playing extremely hard through the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season. Then we decide to trade away Ernest Jones and trade for Jerome Baker. And Ernest Jones leaving the defense was there's a demarcation line between his departure. And I said this on the previous episode, but I don't think that we're just a quarterback away. And so with that being the case, and I've had discussions with the one other Titans fan, no, I'm kidding, but I've had discussions with one of my close friends, E. You're gonna see this here pretty soon. Um, and we're in opposition about what we should do with the pick. A lot of people think it's a foregone conclusion that the pick will be Cam Ward. Titans brass have been, pretty coy about what they're going to do. Initially, it was the Titans brass is in love with Cam Ward. And then when Mike Borgonzi came in and he let everybody know, he said, look, we're not going to pass on a generational talent. And believe you me, if there is anything that Travis Hunter is, it is a generational prospect. We did a thought exercise, and I was comparing Travis Hunter to some of the best corners that have come out in the last few years. I said, I was asked, would I take him over Devon Witherspoon? And I said, yes. Would I take him over Tariq Woolen? Unequivocally, yes. Would I take him over PS2? That's a toss-up. That would be a toss-up for me. Would I take him over Darrelle Revis, the prospect coming out? Obviously, we know Darrelle Revis is a first ballot Hall of Famer. But if I had the information that I had available to me about Darrelle Revis coming out of Pitt, would I take Travis Hunter over Darrelle Revis? And the answer is yes. I think that he is the definition of a generational prospect because of the fact that he not only takes the ball away in a manner in which he had 4 interceptions this year, and he has incredible ball skills. Like you can see what he's doing, what he does on contested balls. There's one ball where it looks like he just jumps off a trampoline to contest the catch, and he looks like he's gonna come down with it, and then he realizes, oh man, I'm about 4.5 feet off the ground. I should probably start trying to prepare to hit the ground or suffer some serious damage, and then he lets the ball go. But Travis Hunter, generational prospect, and I would love to see him in the two-tone blue. I get really, really excited about that notion because of the fact that he's just special. Like he's going to be on our roster. He'll be the second best corner day one. Obviously, I still have a ton of Mike Borgonzi is very familiar with L'Jarius Sneed coming from Kansas City. And I also think that he is going to bounce back this year. The quad injury kind of shut him down. He didn't really have anything to play for, and we're gearing towards next season. And I believe that he will be a firm part of our future plans. So I think he's the second best corner day one. He could easily be the second best. He could easily be the second best corner day one. He could be the best corner if he is as good as I see a Champ Bailey-esque ceiling. Champ Bailey was targeted 35 times in his best season and came away with 10 interceptions. I think that's the type of ceiling that we are looking at with a guy like Travis Hunter. That's what I believe. So I don't believe that even if you need quarterback, to borrow an adage from the Michael Jordan draft. So Michael Jordan, everybody knows Michael Jordan. If you don't know Michael Jordan, you're probably not listening to anything associated with me, the legendary ball knower, and you'll never see this, so I don't really care. So we're going to assume that you know who Michael Jordan is. Michael Jordan, coming out of North Carolina. There's Hakeem Olajuwon, the dream. He goes number 1 to Houston. And then at number 2, the Portland Trailblazers have the pick. They've already got Clyde Drexler, Hall of Fame player, great player, one of the top 20 scorers of all time, or might have been higher than that when he retired, but very similar player to Michael Jordan. He plays the same position. He's a little bit bigger. He's extremely skilled. And the Blazers GM says, man, I can't draft Michael Jordan. We need a center. And Roy Williams was an assistant at North Carolina at the time, and he's talking to this GM, and he says, well, you draft Michael Jordan and you play him at center. So the point here is good teams that build winning organizations, teams that build great rosters, you don't see them drafting for need very much. Look at the Detroit Lions, okay? Look at the Detroit Lions. They go 3-14 Dan Campbell's first year in 2021. They then come out in 2022. They start 1-7. What do they do in last year's draft? Everybody's like, hey man, you've got to get a corner, you've got to get this, you've got to get that. And then what do they go do? They trade up and draft Jahmyr Gibbs. And people are like, I don't know. Is he a space back? Is he physical enough? Like, where are those people now? And we have a long way to go as an organization to get there. And I don't really understand how this is not a foregone conclusion. You get Travis Hunter in the building, and then you figure out the rest. You pay a bridge quarterback. Sure, it's hard not having a quarterback. There's going to be an opportunity to acquire and give an opportunity to a quarterback that you feel like could be the future. Could Cam Ward be the future? Sure. Let me ask you this. Is he going to be better than Joe Burrow? Is he better as a prospect than Bryce Young? Is he better as a prospect than Justin Herbert? Is he better as a prospect than let's see. Is he better as a prospect than Tua Tagovailoa? Is he better as a prospect than CJ Stroud? Is he better as a prospect than Trevor Lawrence? Is he better as a prospect than, let's see, so somebody from the 2020, let's go for argument's sake, let's go 2024. Let's go to that class. Is he better than Michael Penix? Is he better than Bo Nix? Is he better than J.J. McCarthy as a prospect? Well, I'd say he's better than J.J. McCarthy as a prospect. But I just rattled off 9 guys right there that have already have infrastructure, already have NFL experience that you would be asking him to come in and compete with and be better than. And if he's not, then you're re-rolling on quarterback in a couple years anyway, because the team isn't any better. You're constantly trying to acquire pieces now because you took this quarterback with the number 1 overall pick. So you're tied to the guy for at least 4 years. At least 4 years. Okay. So great teams build great rosters filled with talent. And so you have to, in my opinion, you have to get the best talent in the draft. And that, to me, is Travis Hunter. So hopefully, we just hired former Raiders legend as a scout. Raiders and Packers, I believe. Reggie McKenzie as a senior director of scouting for the Tennessee Titans, and that makes me really, really excited because we're putting together a collection. Say what you want about his tenure with the Raiders or some of the guys that they selected. I mean, that this guy did find Max Crosby. He did find Jacorian Bennett. He missed. He did have some colossal misses. They turned that 3 first-round picks. They turned those picks in the Khalil Mack trade into. That didn't work out, but that guy found Max Crosby. That guy also, found Jacorian Bennett. That guy also, has been responsible for some wonderful moves within the Packers organization previously. And so I'm going to give him grace. And I think that following those team models is how you build a sustainable monster. Like the Packers did a 1-year rebuild after letting Jordan Love sit for a while. And then voila, they're back in the mix again. Now, Jordan Love probably took a little step back this year. You can argue that. But, I mean, they were also very Josh Jacobs dependent. And, they ran up against the Eagles, and the Eagles are the Eagles. They're really good. So, when it ain't your year, it's just not your year. There's nothing you can do about it. Hey, it's hey, you made the playoffs. You got a game check in the playoffs. That's good. No disrespect. But we're moving, you got to move forward. And I think that as an organization is kind of what we need to do. So I think Travis Hunter's the pick at 1. And then I think in the second round, you address the opposite edge. We're going to lose Arden Key to free agency. You address that opposite edge with Jack Sawyer. And you guys might be familiar with Captain Jack. He had an interception in the big game. People who are Ohio State fans are super keyed up about calling it the big game between them and Michigan. Like, I could care less. My brother's an Ohio State fan, and I mean, like, it's fun. It's great. It's a great rivalry. He played really, really well, and I think he's played himself into probably a second round grade. If not, there's quite a few other options that'll probably be on the board. This is a really, really, really deep edge class, and I would love to come back here pretty soon and drop another episode, just kind of breaking down some of the guys in the draft, some of the guys that fit needs. I really liked. There's a tackle from Minnesota named Ariante Ursery that caught my attention in the draft. He's 6'6" and 300 and some change. And he did work with Abdul Carter. I won't say they did. He did work on Abdul Carter because that was a battle. I mean, I stumbled upon that on TikTok where somebody had already cut up the plays where they were facing each other. And Abdul Carter is another player that's a very special player in this draft. Him and Travis Hunter are the two best players in the draft on defense, bar none. Mason Graham's another really, really good one, but we've got Big Jeff and T Sweat. We're not going to take Mason Graham. So he's kind of out of the mix for me. And yeah, that second round pick, yeah, they've got this draft on The Athletic says that we're going to take Jack Sawyer at pick 35. I would be fine. With that. I would be way happier if we took, if we addressed tackle or, we addressed edge. But those are two big needs. I've already said, you've heard me say several times, please, 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 pretty please. 1,000 kisses, cherry on top. Please go get Trey Smith out of free agency. And now with Mike Borgonzi in the fold, I think that's a more present possibility than it was at any point ever before, because he does have familiarity with him. You know what kind of talent that Trey Smith is, and he's going to be looking for that bag. So paying him in the realm of $16 to $20 million a year to come and help shore up that offensive line. Then you go get a guy that can play in the second round, Ariante Ursery, Cameron Williams from Texas. I think Kelvin Banks won't be there. I mean, he might slide a little bit, but he might not be there. I mean, James Pierce is still being mocked in the first round, rightfully so. If he slid, and now we're pairing up. We got Big Jeff in the middle. You got Tavondre Sweat, Big Sweat, in the middle. You got Harold Landry on one edge, and then you bring in James Pierce, one that's going to draw Tennessee Volunteer fans in because they can't help but to stand their guy. So it is what it is. And then on top of that, you couple that with someone who, with getting Travis Hunter, and now you've got your front four and your back four pretty well in hand, and that makes me excited. All right, I'm not gonna lie, that makes me want to take my pants off in the hardware store. I'm gonna be bricked up in the cement aisle. You understand what I'm saying? So I get really, really excited about those things. But those are just a couple things that have been going on in state of the state right now. The price of the pick is going up. So this could be a smokescreen. We could trade back. I did see a graphic earlier today where there was a mock where we traded out of the one spot, traded back to 6 and took Abdul Carter. That's something that also as well too could happen also too. And that makes me excited. I mean, I would be fine. I would be perfectly fine. Abdul Carter is pretty much a reskin of Mike Parsons. So if you like really, really fast guys with great length and athleticism, he'd probably be a fit for you. But also, it's up to something season, boys, and we don't know what's going on. So I'm excited. This is unequivocally much, much more fun than talking about anything to do with actual football. But if we can win the offseason, that's a big W. That's a feather in the cap, and brighter days will be ahead. If you would be so kind as to follow me on all social media platforms at Chev90, at 2guys1pod FF on all social media platforms as well. TikTok, Blue Sky, Clapper, Fanbase. There's a bunch. There's a link tree, and it's in my profile. So click the link, follow me, comment, like, download, subscribe. I'm really, really excited. I love talking ball. I'm going to hop off of here now and get back into scouting for the Dynasty Pulse. We got some big things coming on the way, and I am just really, really excited about this rookie class. I'll dive deeper into a couple more things that could be a possibility on the next episode. But until then, I am the legendary ball knower, a.k.a. your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, a.k.a. co-host of the Dynasty Pulse, a.k.a. co-host of and founder of 2guys1pod, now partnered with League Champ. Download the app in the App Store today. And player profile or news desk today on Fridays at 6 p.m., 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and whatever time it is in the Bermuda Triangle. I'm the legendary ball knower, and I will talk to y'all next time. Take care. What do I do?